On today's Culture Rewind, we are retracing Kurt Cobain's final days in Seattle. As we were driving to Lakeside Avenue to film the house that Kurt and Courtney lived in before moving to the Lake Washington house that we all know, we passed a building that looked familiar, so we decided to come back to the area the next day so I could bring you to our first stop. This is where Stan Baker Sports was. It's been closed for years now, but this is what it looked like back in 1994. Stan Baker was the gun shop that Kurt and Dylan Carlson went to on March 30th before Kurt went off to Exodus. Kurt's house now has a gate at the end of the driveway, but in 1994 it did not, and he was worried about people coming onto the property. If you guys watched the series I did on Kurt's death, I noted that just 12 days prior to this purchase, the police had been out to the house and took all of Kurt's guns for safekeeping. Now, Kurt had asked Dylan to make the purchase in his name because he was worried about buying one using his own name because the police had taken them less than 2 weeks prior. And I go into a lot of detail about this in video 2 of the series. I've linked it down below in the description. Our next stop is the Marco Polo Motel on Aurora Avenue. Kurt came here often, and he spent time right here before his death in the room that he often rented, room 226. I went more in depth about this motel in our last video, which I've also linked below. Room 226 is tucked away in the corner, and he would stay here for days at a time despite having the large home on Lakeside and then his final home on Lake Washington Boulevard. We are currently driving up Lake Washington Boulevard to a restaurant in the Madison Park neighborhood of Seattle called Cactus. It's less than 2 miles away from Kurt's house. Now, Cactus is a local chain here in Seattle, but the Madison Park location is the original, and it was opened in 1990. Now, on Sunday, April 3rd, just 2 days before his death, Kurt came here with friends to get dinner, and he was a regular here. The owner, Brett Jatalis, was there, and he interacted with Kurt that night. He said that yes, he was under the influence, but he was in really good spirits. He said that they came in and ordered dessert first. It was cold outside, but Kurt wanted to sit outside at his usual table, which was right here. He ordered banana pudding, and then he and his friends ordered dinner. And they asked Brett for the movie listings because they wanted to go see something in the theater. Now, this was back when to get movie times, you either had to call the theater or look through the newspaper. And Brett remembers Kurt and his friends deciding to go see The Piano. When it came time to pay their bill, Kurt's credit card declined because Courtney had canceled all of his credit cards, which just seems kind of crazy if you're trying to track somebody down. But anyway, he ended up paying by personal check. He and his friends left the restaurant, and that was the last time that Brett saw him. We are now in Capitol Hill, heading to Linda's Tavern. Now, this was the last place that Kurt was seen alive. This was a new tavern, having only opened up 2 months prior to Kurt's death. Now, interestingly, Sub Pop, Nirvana's first music label, has a connection to Linda's. The two co-founders of the label opened this bar with a woman named Linda Dershang. And rumor has it that the co-founders had wanted to get into the bar business for a while, and once they came into some money from Nirvana's success, they opened this tavern. Now, Linda's is right over here, and Kurt was last seen inside having a drink. According to Seattle Unexplored, while he was here, he also ran into Charles Peterson, who was a music photographer and friend to Kurt, out in the front here on the sidewalk. Now, Charles said that Kurt didn't look very good, but they did spend some time talking, and he said that Kurt gave him his new phone number and told him to give him a call so they could get together soon. After Kurt's death, looking back at that interaction, he noted that he didn't see anything that day that would have suggested that it would have been the last time that he would have seen Kurt alive. We are back on Lake Washington Boulevard and heading to our final stop. A couple of weeks ago, I went in depth on Kurt's house, as well as VIRETTA Park, which is right next to it. That video is on the playlist for Kurt, which is linked below. VIRETTA Park is right here, and to the right of it is Kurt's final home. This is what Kurt's house looks like today. And I will show you a better view of it here. Kurt was found in the greenhouse above the detached garage by an electrician on April 8th. Now, the electrician had come to the home to do work on the Cobain's security system. The garage and greenhouse were torn down shortly after his death, but it would have been located right here. Officials determined that Kurt died on April 5th, so his body was found 3 days later. The property does look a bit different than how it was in 1994. Obviously, the greenhouse/garage is gone, but this is what it looked like back then. You can see investigators in there here. And here's the other side of the garage and the front and back of the house. Now, just to leave my closing thoughts on this location, there was definitely a heaviness and sadness that I felt being here. I feel like Kurt's story ended way too soon, like so many musicians who have passed away at an early age. But one thing is certain, Kurt's creativity and influence that he had in shaping music continues to inspire other musicians, as well as touch the lives of so many people. But that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Kurt in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.